Hello, hello, Lisa Williams here. I'm your systems strategist and the founder of Designer Studio HQ. And I'm here today to talk to you about Fluent Forms and Notion. So it all starts here in Notion. I am going to share how I set up my Notion, my inquiry form submissions database, and then the Fluent form on our website and how the two connect. So an inquiry form would be on your website and you want the information entered into that inquiry form to then be automatically sent to Notion. And so here's how you do that. It all starts in Notion. So you have a database. Here I have my inquiry form submissions database. And within this database, you can see that right here, this is all of the different stages that I have. So I'm not going to go too far into setting up the database, but I do want to show you the properties here. So if I go to edit properties, you'll see that I have all of these properties, and a lot of them sound like something you would enter on a form. And that is exactly what you want. I have a couple relational properties here, but these are all of my, a lot of them are what the person is going to enter into the form for their inquiry on our website. So I have lead gen, platform use, business status, their email, etc. All this here. The stage is something that's in this database, not they're not entering anything in the into the form for that. And then the project relation is when we, if this leads to a web design project, then that will be connected, and then the calls. And then I add in the next follow-up date when I get that inquiry. So this is all set up first. Or you can set them up simultaneously. You can set up the Fluent form and the database, but you do want the properties in the database, in your Notion database, to match as close as possible to match what the uh, form fields are, what they're entering into the form. And I'm going to show you the form in just a second. So this is a select. So if I click here, the options are yes and no. So in the form, I ask them, do you have a current CRM? They answer yes or no. So that is what is showing here. So if I add a new entry here, and I will use Rachel Green. Now, this is, I'm manually entering this, but this would come from the form. But if I open it up, you'll see that I have some information that shows up right here. But then in the view details is all the information from the form that would be completed, okay, by Rachel Green. So once you have this database set up, a couple things, you've got to connect it to your Fluent Forms. And so if I come over here and do connections, you'll see that I'm connected to my Fluent Forms. So, so you do have to add the connection. So you want to make sure that your Fluent Forms and Notion are connected, and you do the same thing over in Fluent Forms. You got to connect your Notion to that. Okay. So you do want to make sure that they're both connected. So then over here on my website, I have the form. So this is my project inquiry form. If I click here, it's my project inquiry. So I just have one inquiry. You could have more than one inquiry. I have one inquiry, and then here are the questions that I have asked, and these will sound familiar because these are the properties in my database. So the URL of the website, what do you like or dislike? Do you have a current blog? All of these are conditional, so you can see the little, when I hover over it, it hides it, but you can see the little conditional sign there. These are conditional logic questions or, answers. So these are only going to show up if they answer yes to they currently have a website. If they answer no, these will not show up and they will remain empty in Notion, which is totally fine. Then the rest of my questions are here. Here is the current email list or CRM. Yes, no. Are you actively selling a course? You've got answers here. Anything else? And then submit inquiry. So once I have my form set, okay, my form field set, I'm going to come over here to settings and integrations. And over here, right now I have it redirecting to a discovery call page. And then down here, the configure integrations at the very bottom is where you're going to set up your Notion integration feed. Now you do have to go to your integrations. I'm just going to open so I don't lose this. You have to go to your integrations and you do have to connect Notion to Fluent Forms. Okay, so once it is connected, and then you do your Fluent Forms connection over in Notion and tell Notion what forms it's allowed to see, or what the abilities are, what Notion can see and what Fluent Forms can see. Then you're all set. You can use this Notion connection on any form. So over here is where you're going to map the fields. So when you set up your Notion integration feed, my Notion database that I want it to go to is inquiry form submissions. So what it will do at that point is pull in all of your field names, okay? All of your properties. So once I tell it what database, it will automatically pull in all of my properties on my database. This is where you're going to map the information that's coming from Fluent Forms to your Notion database. So you will see that I have these mapped. What is the URL of your website? The input is the website URL, and over here is where move my clock over here. Over here is where you are going to choose. This is what I chose. You're going to choose your questions here, or your questions, your checkbox, whatever. You're going to choose what answer this is. So you're going to map that. So all of these have a specific um, data name attribute. That's what I was looking for. I was like, what is the name of that? A name attribute. So let me come back over here in the editor. This is just one way that makes it a little bit easier. It takes a little bit longer. You wouldn't have to do this, but this is the way I do these each of the fields here. So do you currently have a website? If I click on this, you've got all of your stuff here. But then at the bottom, you have advanced options. And here is where I put in website. Okay. I use the name attribute. What is the URL of your website? If I do the advanced options here and go down to the name attribute, it's website URL and so on. Like here I have, do you have a current blog? The advanced options are blog. Okay, so when I come over to the settings and integrations and configure them, go back into my Notion, all of the answers are easy to see. See current blog, inputs blog. So it's easy when you come over here and get the question. You can see the question clearly. It just makes it easy to make sure that I've got the right one if I have the name attribute that I've chosen. So a couple of these are empty. They're not mapped because they're not adding this to the date in the form. This is just a property in my Notion database. So, excuse me, it will bring over all the properties. If you leave these empty, that's totally fine. I leave the date submitted empty because in my inquiry form database, I have an automation that says when a page is added, set the date submitted to the date triggered and then set the stage to new inquiry. So that is why when I added Rachel Green, just myself, it added the date and put it under new inquiry. Okay. So you don't have to fill in all of these. I don't have the stage map because that's not something they answer. So I hope this makes sense. So I map all of my fields and that is going to, the Fluent form is going to send all of this information over to Notion automatically. So then it's already there. So this um, this integration is the one that you need for the form to automatically send that information. No third parties needed. That's what I absolutely love about this, is that it's native within Fluent Forms in Notion. They play together very nicely. So any form that I have that I want that information over into Notion, I can do that. I also have a for the content workbook. Okay, so I have a content workbook that is a little more involved, and I have this off right now, but I have it disabled right now. But it pulls in my content workbook, so it pulls in all of this information and sends it over to my database for my content workbook that I have. So you can see here, I've had some little trouble with this recently, so I've turned it off. But here's all of, oops, I didn't want to click on that. Huh. Here's all of my properties that are in my content database. So my content workbooks database. So this is another very nice way to get all the information. So all of this would be in uh, the form, and then all of this would then be transferred over into Notion. So you can have this on multiple forms. You can have this Notion integration on multiple forms. So I like it on my project inquiry form because then that allows me to take all of this information and not only have it on the back end here. If I go to entries, I can see the entries of inquiries, but also in my Notion where I'm actually doing the work. Let's go back where I'm actually doing the work and I'm actually tracking this, right? So this would be, and then they would type in their goals here. When I get ready to start a project, I would add a new web design project, or I would link the existing web design project after I've started it. But this allows me to keep track of this discovery call scheduled, agreement sent, and I can track all of this in Notion. So I hope this has been helpful, and I'll see you around. Check out my website at the Designer Studio HQ for more of all of this, for more Notion and Fluent. Alrighty, bye bye.